Chanavani Sharite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Srimati Radharani ki jai Vrishabhanu Devi ki jai Varshani Wali ki jai. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Guranga. So tomorrow is the auspicious appearance day of Srimati Radharani. And of course we know that Radharani is in full control of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna may be known as Madan Mohan, but Srimati Radharani is Madan Mohan Mohini. She is the attractor of Cupid. And she's also Ladini Shakti, the pleasure potency of the Lord. So whatever pleases the Lord is embodied by Srimati Radharani. And we are Radharani Anugas. We are followers of Radharani. In fact, all the deities we have, it's always Radha Madhav, Kishore Kishori, Radha Nila Chandra, Radha Manohar, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Gopinath. Radha always precedes Lord Krishna. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very merciful because he is in Kali Yuga. It is so difficult. Prayana Palisha Shabda Kalar Asmin Yuge Janaha. Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagyahi Upadrutaha. In Kali Yuga, people are very, very short-lived. I mean, in Satya Yuga, Kritayad Yayato Vishnu, when everyone would meditate on Lord Vishnu, and all the four legs of Dharma the bull were intact, then people lived for 100,000 years. 1 lakh of years. Can you imagine nowadays? Can you live for 100,000 years? Impossible. So people would meditate on Vishnu for 10,000 years and attain self-realization. Tretayam Yajnamakai Dvapayam Paricharyayam Kalir Yad Dari Kirtana. In Kali Yuga, simply by chanting these holy names of the Lord, Hare, Ram, and Krishna, this Maha Mantra, one attains pure love of God. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu has come in the mood of Srimati Radharani. When Gauranga Mahaprabhu attended the Rath Yatra ceremony in Jagannath Puri, Rupa Goswami writes that this is a allegory given that the inhabitants of Vrindavan had traveled to Kurukshetra to observe a very auspicious day when there was a lunar eclipse, and they wanted to bathe at Kurukshetra. So Radharani, Maharaj Nanda, Mother Yashoda, the gopis, the cowherd boys, they all attended at Kurukshetra. And there, Lord Krishna was there also for the auspicious occasion of performing Snan Yatra. And he was there with his chariots and his horses and his soldiers. He was from Dwarka. This is Aishvarya Leela. So Radha, when she met Krishna there, this represents when the inhabitants of Vrindavan meet Krishna at Kurukshetra. This Rath Yatra festival is a representation of that time, that event. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Radharani, when he sees Lord Jagannath, he remembers Radharani meeting Lord Krishna in Kurukshetra, and she's saying that, I am the same Radha, and he is my friend, the same Krishna. But now we're in Kurukshetra, and there's so many rattling chariots and horses. When will I be with him along the Yamuna River under the Vetasi tree as he plays on the fifth note of his flute? So this Madhurya Lila in Vrindavan is devoid of any kind of material, any kind of spiritual opulence, Aishvarya, any kind of awe and veneration that Krishna is a great personality. Aishvaryasya Shamagrasya, he has 6 opulences: wealth, strength, knowledge, renunciation, fame, and beauty. So Srimati Radharani prefers to be with Krishna. In fact, Krishna, it says, Vrindavana Prichaja Padamekam Nadigachati. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. He's either there in his prakat or his aprakat form. So when Akrura took Krishna Balaram to go to kill Kamsa from Vrindavan, the inhabitants of Vrindavan were associated with Krishna by remembrance. This is called his aprakat form, that he Vrindavana Prichaja Padamekam Nadigachati. He never takes a step out of Vrindavan. He's either there in his prakat form or his aprakat form. So Srimati Radharani is always remembering Krishna. And the inhabitants of Vrindavan are in this mood that they see Krishna as a beautiful cowherd boy. Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, they see Krishna as their little son who needs protection, maintenance. Vatsalya Ras is influenced by the sense of maintenance, taking care of the Krishna. And because of his yoga maya, they don't know he is yad yad vibhuti mat sadvam shrimat urtitam evava tatta diva jagatchatvam mamote jamsa sambhava. That all the great universes are but a spark of his splendor. There he's lying in the lap of Mother Yashoda. He's dancing with Radharani on Govardhan Hill. Krishna performs the Rasa Leela with Radharani and the gopis on Govardhan Hill, in Vamsivata, along the Yamuna River. Every night, Krishna is having Rasa Leela with the gopis, and they're leaving their homes. It's stated that the river, Rupa Goswami writes, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he writes this quotes from one of the acharyas. He says that the river of Radharani has come a long distance to meet the ocean of Lord Krishna. He's an ocean of transcendental qualities. She's far long ago since abandoned the tree of her husband, Abhimanyu. She's broken through the bridge of social convention, and she's crossed over the hills of elderly advice. And as she flows down towards the ocean of Krishna, as the river Radharani flows down to the ocean of Krishna, she's met with waves of discouraging words and words of instruction on the codes of conduct for married women. So this is Krishna when Krishna is playing on his flute in Vrindavan. That flute playing enters into the air holes of the gopis, and Krishna's joking words and his deep voice and the tinkling of his ornaments. Rupa Goswami writes that all these 4 sounds enter into the ear holes of the gopis. And just like a cuckoo taking nest there, these sounds take nest in the gopis' ears, in Radharani's ears. And they start running towards the forest of Vrindavan to dance with Krishna. And they can't hear the instructions of their husbands and elders to come back and do their wifely duties. So Srimati Radharani is also very attracted to Krishna. Rupa Goswami writes that one day Krishna was in the forest and Purnamasi was there. And Purnamasi was saying, the prince of Vrindavan, he has come to this forest, this Vrindavan forest, and he's speaking to Vishaka and Lalita. And then Krishna he appears there, and Purnamasi says, "Oh, and the queen of Vrishabhana, the queen of Varshana, she's also coming to this forest." And Krishna asks, "What's her name?" And Purnamasi says, "Her name is Radha." And when these two syllables, Radha, enter into the ear of Krishna, all his hair stands on end. And his body starts shivering just by hearing the sound, Radha. So it's described by Garga Muni in the Garga Samhita. The Radharani was always hearing about this beautiful boy, Krishna. In fact, when she hears the name Krishna, all her hairs on her body start standing on end uncontrollably. And she's wondering, why is that? So she was speaking to Vishaka and Lalita, and she was saying, when will I meet this beautiful person? And Vishaka and Lalita said, Radharani, you live in Varshana, in the palace of Vrishabhanu. And if you look through the window at a certain time, Krishna and the cowherd boys are returning from the pasturing grounds. They're returning from these pasturing grounds. And if you look through the window, you'll see this beautiful cowherd boy as he goes to Nandagram, as he goes to his house, Nandagram, as he returns in the twilight time, evening time. And so Radharani was placed herself at the window, and sure enough, here comes Krishna with all the calves. He had 900,000 calves to take care of. And all the cowherd boys, thousands of cowherd boys is described. And as he walked by, Radharani caught sight of him, and she immediately fainted on the ground. She fainted out of ecstatic love for Krishna. Radharani is the possessor of Mahabhav. Only Radharani experiences this Mahabhav. But of course, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, he was relishing this. It is Krishna. Krishna wanted to taste the pure devotion and love that Radharani has for him. So in Kali Yuga, Krishna comes in the mode and the character of Radharani, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with Krishna, the enjoyer. He's completely absorbed in Radha, the one who is fully engaged in loving Mahabhav, love, prema of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So Radharani, she fainted in ecstasy, and Vishaka and Lalita revived her. And Krishna, when he caught by his glance, he caught the smile of Radharani in the window of the palace of Maharaj Vrishabhanu. He immediately made up his mind. He decided, I am going to have amorous pastimes with Radharani very soon. So then Radharani went to her friend. Her name is Chandranandana. And she said, Chandranandana, Chandranana, what great austerities and ritualistic performances and yagyas should I perform to get the association of Krishna, the cowherd boy of Vrindavan, the son of Maharaj Nanda? And Chandranana said, you have to worship Tulsi. You have to touch Tulsi. You have to offer obeisances to Tulsi. You have to offer prayers to Tulsi. You have to worship Tulsi on an altar. You have to sow the seeds of Tulsi and grow a forest of Tulsi Tulsi Vana, Vrindavan Vana, Vrindavan. Vrindavan is the forest of Tulsis. In this way, she instructed Radharani what to do. So Radharani took a vow that for the next few months, until the time of spring, Vaishakhi, she will worship Tulsi in the forest. So she went to a forest and she had created a beautiful temple, a round temple. And she worshiped Tulsi for so many months. She took the vrata. She was touching Tulsi, watering Tulsi, sowing the seeds of Tulsi. She performed great vrata. And she also gave in charity to 200,000 Brahmins. She gave gold, she gave diamonds, she gave jewelry, pearls to all these Brahmins. She fed them with opulent prasad. As we know, Radharani pleased Durvasa Muni, and Durvasa Muni gave her the benediction that every day she'll cook a different preparation. She'll never duplicate any of her cooking, even once. And that also no one will be able to cook prasadam as delicious as her in the entire universe, in the entire manifestation of Krishna's creation. And also, whoever takes her prasadam even once will have a long life full of health and well-being. So these were the benedictions that Durvasa Muni gave to Radharani. He had visited the palace of Vrishabhanu, and Radharani had pleased him so much that he gave this benediction. We know, though, Durvasa Muni, he's an expansion of Lord Shiva. So Radharani worshipped Tulsi, performed great austerities, and gave in charity to Brahmins, 200,000 Brahmins. And at the end of this time, Krishna took the form of a beautiful gopi. He disguised himself as a beautiful gopi, and he started walking towards the palace of Maharaj Vrishabhanu. Gargamuni describes that this palace was very beautiful. It had thousands of various buildings in it, and it was surrounded by a river, like a moat, a canal of water. And there were 4 gates and entrances there. And these entrances were guarded by massive elephants, very powerful elephants. And as he walked through one gate, he saw that all the buildings were embellished with diamonds and rubies and sapphires and emeralds and pearls. The entire palace of Maharaj Vrishabhanu was like the heavenly planets. And there were millions of gopis there and millions of inhabitants. They were all living in beautiful palatial buildings. And Krishna walked into the assembly hall where Radharani was sitting on a beautiful throne, surrounded by millions of gopi friends. Of course, Krishna was he was disguised as this beautiful gopi. And this gopi, she outshone the beauty of all the other gopis. So Radharani was so attracted that she called the gopi over. He said, "My dear, gopi, how is it that I have never met you? Where have you been?" Of course, Krishna was smiling and his face was covered. And by his Yogamaya potency, no one realized who he was. And Radharani was offering glorious glorification. "Oh, my dear Gopi, you must have performed given great pleasure to Brihaspati. You must be a past master in various arts. I wish that you could be my friend and stay with me here in the palace forever," like that. And Krishna says, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I have to leave because I have some work to do." And Radharani was so overwhelmed by lamentation, by separation, when this gopi left for some time. Yugayitam Nimeshina Chakshusha Prabhishayitam Sunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virename. Oh my Lord, feeling your separation, I feel like a moment is 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and the whole world seems vacant in your absence. This is a prayer that Radharani composed in the Anjalila. Lord Chaitanya describes this prayer by Radharani in the end of the Anjalila, I believe 17th chapter. So then, of course, the next morning, the gopi reappeared, and Radharani was so grateful. And Krishna, in disguise as a gopi, came to Radharani. Radharani said, "Could I please embrace you?" And as she embraced Lord Krishna, Krishna manifested. His voice became very deep. Krishna has a very deep voice, and he started speaking to Radharani in his deep voice, and suddenly he manifested his form. He couldn't resist manifesting into his form as the cowherd boy of Vrindavan. And Radharani, with folded palms and tears flowing from her eyes, she glorified Lord Krishna and offered her respects to him. This is written by Garga Muni in the Garga Samhita. Radharani is described also as in possession of 25 beautiful qualities. She's always sweet. She's a sweet young girl. She's very youthful. And her smile is very bright. Her words are very pleasing. And she's the master in making humorous jokes. She has very auspicious markings on her body. And her bodily scent attracts the mind of Krishna. She is very respectful to all people, including her elders. Her speech is very, very pleasing. She's very, very karuna. She's very compassionate. She's karuna mai, the mother of compassion. She's extremely compassionate. She's also very grave. She's controlled by the love of her friends like Lalita, Vishaka, Champakalata, Tunga Vidya, Sudevi, and others. So these are some of the 25 qualities of Srimati Radharani. She's in possession of these qualities in an unlimited way. So Radharani is also very, very shy. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing these wonderful qualities of conjugal affairs, the Madhurya Ras between Radha and Krishna, he was giving some beautiful poetry. Like he said that Radharani, Krishna has gone to Mathura, and Radharani is lying in the room of separation, on the bed of separation in the room of bodily aroma. Radharani takes 3 baths during the day. Her first bath is in the bath of youthfulness. Her second bath at midday is in the bath of compassion. And her third bath, in other words, in her Kaishori age, she bathes in the shower of beautiful bodily luster. So Kumara, Poganda, and Kaishora. The first Kumara is compassion. She appears out of compassion with Krishna and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan for the pleasure of devotees. Radha and Krishna appear here 5,000 years ago, once in the day of Lord Brahma. For 125 years, Krishna walked in this part of the world, Bharatvarsha. And Radharani appears, the gopis appear, many, many gopis Some are from planets where Lord Ram lived. Some are the Vedas personified, took forms of gopis. The great sages in Danda Karanya, Danda forest, they begged Lord Ram to taste this Madhurya Ras. They took birth as gopis, as daughters of the cowherd men in Vrindavan. Even some daughters of Nagas in the lower planets, lower heavenly planets, they took birth also as gopis. They were benedicted by Srimati Radharani. So millions of gopis were there. This is described by Garga Muni in the Garga Samhita. That Radharani, one time Radharani she was with Krishna in a bower in the forest of Vrindavan. And she was so ecstatic that she fainted on the ground. And when she fainted, Lord Krishna took the opportunity to abandon her and go and associate with a beautiful young youthful gopi called Viraja. And Viraja's abode was quite far away from Radharani's abode. And Krishna went there and he was associating in the domicile of Viraja, because Krishna, Radharani says Krishna is a thief of women. This is the high taste of Parakiya Bhav, lawless love. Of course, it's the most degraded activity in the material world. The material Madhurya Leela and lawless love in the material world is the most degrading and despicable practice. But in the spiritual world, because the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world, a dim reflection, in the spiritual world, this is the highest taste of love of God, is Radharani and the gopis running away from their houses, from the house of Abhimanyu, and running to dance with Krishna in the dead of night. The highest taste of love of God. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was relishing this, although we know that he was very strict in his association with women. He would keep his distance from women. All his sannyasis were instructed by his example to keep your distance from women. Because, as I said, by Kapila Dev, Paschame, Balavan Paschamaya, Strimayo Jaino Disham, Yat Karoti Padakantam, Ruvi Jimbrena Kevalam. That just see my Maya in the form of woman, just by the raising of her eyebrows, by the tinkling of her ankle bells, even great personalities who have conquered the entire world fall at her ankles. This is a verse by Lord Kapila Dev to Devahudi. So Gauranga Mahaprabhu set a very strict example for his devotees. And he even chastised and rejected Chota Haridas for begging some rice from Madhavi Devi, who was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. And she was very old, but yet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu set the example. So Krishna's conjugal affairs with Radharani are described by Gargamuni. So Krishna goes and he's associating with Viraj. And Radharani, she eventually comes out of her ecstatic swoon, her ecstatic unconsciousness. And she asks, where is my Krishna? Where's my Prince of Vrindavan? Where's the blue cowherd boy? And the gopi said, oh, he's gone away. He's gone to the house of Viraja. So Radharani becomes very angry. And she summons her chariot. This is not an ordinary chariot. Her chariot is 100,000 yojanas high. No, sorry, my mistake. 10,000 yojanas high and 1,000 yojanas wide. It has 100,000 beautiful wheels decorated with pearls and diamonds and sapphires. There are 100,000 rooms in this chariot, all decorated beautifully with chamaras and whisks and mirrors. And there are many rooms and beds. She's accompanied by 600 million 600 million, 60 crores of her gopi friends. And they all enter this chariot. The chariot travels at the speed of the mind. And she goes to the domicile, the place of Viraj. And the gopis are very angry, but they come to the gate, and there is a cowherd boy, beautiful cowherd boy named Sridham. And Sridham's holding a stick guarding the gate. And there's a struggle going on outside. There's conflict going on, a fight going on between the gopis and Sridham. He won't allow them in. And so Krishna hears all this kerfuffle outside, all this turbulence outside going on. And he looks outside, he sees, oh, Radharani, angry Radharani is here with her gopi friends. And they're going to overpower the guard, Sridham, the cowherd boy. So Krishna's son, he just immediately disappears into the forest. Viraja becomes so overwhelmed by trauma and fear that she gives up her body and she becomes the Viraj River. It's the river that separates the Vaikuntha planets from the halo of the material world. The material world, where the causal ocean is. There's the Viraj River, which separates Krishna's Tripad Vibhuti from his Ekapad Vibhuti. Tripad Vibhuti, the Vaikuntha planets, the spiritual world. And she gives up her body and becomes this Viraj River. Krishna disappears into the forest. Radharani is looking for him. They enter into the overpower Sridham, and they enter into the grounds and the house of Viraj, and they can't find Viraj or Krishna. So Radharani, in a great angry mood of great upsettedness and torment, she goes back to her place. And at her place, she's sitting there, and Krishna again appears. He's trying to console Radharani, and he's asking the gopis, can I please see Radharani? And the gopis are saying, no, not now. It's not a good time. Radharani is so upset with you. She's so upset. Better you go off and come back some other time. So then Krishna returns to the place of Viraj. And by his mystic power, he tells Viraj, I will make you a very beautiful gopi again. I would like to associate with you. Very youthful gopi. And he manifests her form again. Beautiful young gopi. And Viraj and Krishna are associating. And due to that association, she has 7 sons. And the youngest son is being teased by the older sons. And as they're teasing this young boy, he starts crying and calling for his mom. But Viraj is busy with spending amorous pastimes with Krishna, and she becomes distracted by the teasing and bullying of the boys on the youngest son. So she runs off to resolve the issue and remedy the problem. And Krishna takes that opportunity to abandon her and go back to Radharani's place. And when Viraja realizes Krishna's abandoned, she becomes angry at her sons and she curses them to become the 7 rivers of Bhumandala. And the younger boy becomes the saltwater ocean, 7 oceans of Bhumandala. Jambudvip is surrounded by an ocean of salt water. And then there's an ocean of sweet water. There's an ocean of liquor. There's an ocean of ghee. And there's Plakshadweep and various dweeps. So all these boys are cursed by her. And that is the story. And so Radharani decides that she's going to build a place in Vrindavan. And she's going to build it in such a way that no other gopis can intrude. None of her adversaries, her competition can intrude into the area. So she summons the Yamuna River and the Ganga. And she creates, the 2 rivers create a little island. And that island is very beautiful. In Vrindavan, it's surrounded by Yamuna and Ganga rivers, so no one can cross. Her adversaries can't cross. And on the island, there are beautiful ponds with waterfowl, beautiful humming bees drinking honey from beautiful kalpavriksha trees. There are creepers of malati and malika and jasmine and ranarani, various beautiful scented flowers. The whole atmosphere is created very beautifully by Radharani's desire to attract and keep Krishna at all times, control Krishna. So she calls this island Nava Vrindavan. And because it's a dweep, it's an island surrounded by Ganga and Yamuna, it becomes known as Nava Dweep. Navadweep Dham Ki Jai. So these are all different descriptions given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sridhar Swami, Gargamuni, so many wonderful supplementaries to the Srimad Bhagavatam and Shruti Smritis are given by these great acharyas. So these are various stories that we can read. There's some quotes here. Radharani Vrindavaneshwari, her lotus feet are the treasure house of the nectar of divine love. Lord Shyamasundar keeps her feet safely and dearly in his heart. Her feet are the supremely cooling remedy for the blazing fire of the material world. Bhakti Siddhanta, he says, that we're not devotees of Krishna. We are Radha Angas, Radha Anugas. We are followers of Radharani. So these are some of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna that I've read from Vidagdha Madhava and other wonderful literatures, especially Rupa Goswami has written many books, 16 books actually, Ujjvala Nilamani, Vidagdha Madhava, Lalita Madhava. Those are dramas written by Rupa Goswami. He was empowered by Lord Chaitanya himself to write these beautiful literatures describing their love of the inhabitants of Vrindavan for Krishna and the wonderful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we know that he would enter into a very deep mood of ecstatic love, tasting Mahabhav, the love that Radha has for Krishna. One night, Lord Chaitanya and his associates were walking along the ocean in Jagannath Puri, and the moon was fully bright. The moon was fully bright, and the reflection of the moon was glistening off of the ocean, the waves of the ocean. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became uncontrolled. His mind became uncontrolled to go to Vrindavan. And this beautiful panorama just brought him to Vrindavan, where the Yamuna River is on a full moon night, where Krishna on a full moon night in the Sharat season, autumn season, will summon the gopis and dance along the banks of the Yamuna River. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly ran at the speed of the mind and jumped into the ocean. And he was in complete ecstasy. He didn't know if it was day or night. He didn't know where he was. He was just floating in this ocean in complete ecstasy. And the fisherman caught him in a net. And the fisherman actually touched him. And when he touched him, he felt the ecstasy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the prema, and he became so afraid he thought that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a ghost. And so he brought Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his net onto the beach, and he was wandering around. He thought he was ghostly haunted. And the more he chanted the prayers of Lord Nrsingadev, the more this ecstasy manifested and erupted in his heart. Anyway, that morning, the devotees like Swarup Damodar and Sarvabhauma, Ramananda Roy, they're all looking, where is Gauranga Mahaprabhu? Where did the ocean take him? And they were walking along the banks of the ocean, the beaches, and they saw this fisherman walking around speaking crazily. Anyway, they found Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his body was completely deformed. By ecstatic love, the body becomes deformed. And so they started chanting, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, and he came to half external consciousness. And he started describing how he had gone to Vrindavan, to the Yamuna River, and he saw Radharani and the gopis. After the Rasa Leela dance, they went to the Yamuna, and the gopis took their saris off, and they were having water sports with Krishna. This is described by Krishnadas Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so the gopis and Krishna were having water fights. They were fighting, hand to hand, leg to leg, tooth to tooth, and cheek to cheek, and nail to nail. And Krishna was trying to touch the gopis, and the gopis were pushing his hands away. He expanded himself into many, many Krishnas, and they're having this wonderful water fighting going on. And Lord Chaitanya was describing this. And then after they got exhausted in this water fighting business, they went to a beautiful forest cottage made of gems, jewels, diamonds, rubies, sapphires, emeralds, pearls, a beautiful cottage in the forest. And when they went there, Radha and Krishna, they lay down on a bed of lotus flowers. And Lalita brought a plate of fruit. And the Lalita and Vishaka were massaging the feet of Radha and Krishna. In this way, they were tasting ecstatic love for each other. This is the Radharani. And Lord Shiva tells Parvati, Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param. Tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam tadarchanam. That the greatest worship of all gods, all avatars, all expansions of Lord Krishna, Vishnu aradhanam param, the highest worship amongst all the gods and everything is Vishnu. And Krishna, of course, is the source of Vishnu. But then he says, higher than the worship of Vishnu is the worship of the Tadiyanam, the devotees who are the paraphernalia of Lord Krishna. And we know that Lord Balaram, the first expansion of Krishna, manifests himself as Vrindavan itself. And Krishna's flute, Krishna's paraphernalia, his clothing, his dhoti, the necklaces he wears, his conch shell, his buffalo horn, the jewels in his hair, all these are manifestations of Lord Balaram. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead in servitude, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead being served, the object of everyone's service. And we know that Lord Balaram appeared in this Kali Yuga as Lord Nityananda to give pure love of God, Nitai Pada H.I.I. Jagajulai, Hino Vino Nitevai, Radha Krishna Paitinai, Jida Kori, So Lord Nityananda, unless you get the mercy of Lord Nityananda's lotus feet, somebody pursue. You are nothing but a two-legged animal. And if you want to understand Radha and Krishna, Madhurya Ras, you have to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And who is Lord Nityananda? He is Guru Tattva. He is Guru Tattva, original Guru. And therefore, to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, you have to get the mercy of the great Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and his predecessors, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, all the way up to Gauranga Mahaprabhu, 6 Goswamis, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. These are all great acharyas. That is the secret. So Rupa Goswami describes Radharani in the Nectar of Devotion. Different ecstatic symptoms of love of God. This is the goal of our life. If we can get the mercy of Radharani, we can start to experience love for Krishna. Adoshada tata sadhu sangha. Tata bhajatat tato ruchi. First, we have faith that there's a God. And then we take shelter of sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha, sarva shastra koi. Lava macha sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. 1/10 of a second association, 1/10,000 of a second association with a devotee of the Lord. Lava matra, one tiny little speck, moment, association with a sadhu, one can become perfect. Sadhu siddhi. Sarva shastra, sarva siddhi hoy. You can become perfect in this lifetime. What is perfection? Srila Prabhupada is a manifestation of love of God on this planet. He is the founder of the Hare Krishna International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has empowered Srila Prabhupada. Krishna Shakti Vinana Hetara Parvatana. So from sadhu sangha, anartha nivritti, we lose, our heart becomes clean of all unwanted desires, gross and subtle. Gross desires, we give up our anarthas, sinful life, we follow the principles, the regulations, rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti given by the Goswamis of Vrindavan. We perform deity worship given by the Goswamis of Vrindavan. Pancharachiki Vidhi, Bhagavad Vidhi, we practice these 2 tracks of devotional service, which is given by Radharani. You can only get the opportunity to serve Krishna by Radharani's grace. And then, if we become free from these anarthas, they're subtle anarthas, so we have to be careful. Pratishta. Bhaktisiddhanta warns that you may be wearing saffron and tilak and neck beads, kuntimala, chanting your 16 rounds, following the principles, but in your heart, you have a desire to be worshipped by other devotees. You have a desire to be the topmost devotee, the top gun in the assembly of devotees. You have a desire to be in the higher ashrams for fame and name, not for serving the mission and adoration, followers. In your heart, you may want to be worshipped by other devotees. You want to be a guru so you can be worshipped. These are all little pieces of dirt and straw and twigs and gravel within the heart of the aspiring devotee, and they will choke up. These are considered to be like weeds. And by chanting Hare Krishna, you can water these weeds. You can cultivate the wrong aspiration. And by watering these weeds, your devotional creeper eventually gets choked up and for some time could die. You could give up devotional service. You could give up the struggle. Utsahanisya dharya tata karma pravartanat sangatyaga suto vite sadvir bhakti pradashiti. One must be enthusiastic, determined, and patient follow in the footsteps of pure devotees, disassociate from non-devotees. Disassociate from them. There are 6 of these principles given by Rupa Goswami. So if we develop or cultivate these anarthas within the heart, then our devotional service will be impaired. Radharani, we cannot get the mercy of Radharani. Just like the gopis, even Radharani, she left the arena of the Rasa dance one time. And the gopis were also thinking, oh, look at us. We're so, we're so important devotees. We're so special that we're with Krishna in the middle of the forest, in the middle of the night. Look at us. We have the Krishna to ourselves. At that point, Krishna thought, the gopis are becoming puffed up. So we have to become free from this false pride that I am devotee number 1. I am a special devotee. Don't you know who I am? I've been serving, ISKCON for so many years. I've opened so many temples, distributed so many books, convinced so many people. He recruited so many devotees. Don't you know who I am? Amani namana dena kirtaniya sadahari. So even the gopis were abandoned by Krishna when they got a little puffed up. And they had to go looking for Krishna in the forest, as we know. They were inquiring from the trees, the kalpavriksha trees. Have you seen Krishna walk around the trees? Have you seen Krishna come this way? We see there's some kumkum powder from the gopis and was on Krishna's on his garland. And now they've touched the creepers. They asked the deer. They asked all the different creatures, where have you seen the son of Marishnanda come this way? So Krishna can teach us a lesson by not being merciful to us if we become puffed up, if we cultivate subtle desires. Subtle desires means we are Jiva Goswami describes in his Bhakti Sandarpa, be careful of kapatya. Kapatya means crooked-heartedness. Devotee is simple-hearted, very simple-hearted. Then we can receive the mercy of Srimati Radharani. And it's described that by Rupa Goswami, Srimati Radharani is always trying to help other gopis meet Krishna. This is the mood of devotional service, that we try to push other devotees ahead of ourselves. Not I should be number 1. No, we push the devotees towards Krishna. It's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that just as the creeper which wraps around the tamal tree, and on the creeper there's so many branches and leaves, and that's compared to the gopis. And the creeper around the tamal tree, Tamal Krishna tree, that's Radharani, or another gopi that Krishna favors. And Krishna is the tamal tree of Krishna. So Krishna's Kaviraj describes that the gopis derive far more pleasure by indirectly serving Krishna, by assisting Radharani or assisting other gopis in direct contact with Krishna. The pleasure there of direct contact with Krishna is not as rewarding, not as fulfilling, not as nectarine, not as explosively pleasurable as indirect contact with Krishna by assisting the gopis. Gopir Bhartu Padakamalayur Dasa Das, servant of the maintainer of the gopis. So that is the mood. Srimati Radharani also says, I know no one else is Krishna as my Lord, but sometimes by his strong embrace, he crushes me. And she says, because he's a debauchee, sometimes he's attracted to another gopi. And he derives pleasure from that gopi. And I'm there. And Radharani says, that gives me great pain. But if it satisfies Krishna, then that pleasure given to Krishna is the best of my pleasure, although it gives me pain. So that pain becomes the best of my pleasure. And I become a maidservant of that gopi, and I take her by the hand and I bring her to Krishna, the love of my life, my beloved. In this way, this is described by Radharani. That the pain I get from seeing Krishna with another gopi is the greatest of my pleasure because it makes Krishna happy. So that is the mood of a devotee. Srila Prabhupada said to Vidur Tripurari, he said that, yes, Tripurari asked him, when we're giving books out, trying to bring the souls to Krishna, is that in the mood of the gopis? Srila Prabhupada said, yes, that is the mood of gopis. Bring people to Krishna, not that you want to go to Krishna, but you bring others to Krishna. That is the mood of the Sankirtan movement, Prabhupada said, the movement of preaching, giving Krishna to others. And Uddhava, he was saying that I am not a very good devotee. I am praying that I can take birth as a blade of grass in Vrindavan, the gopis can step on me. That's the mood of a devotee. Some may say, oh, Uddhava is the greatest friend of Krishna, that's related to Krishna, he's the greatest devotee. No, Uddhava was saying, no, I take bath in the waters where the gopis bathe. I take bath in there, the dust from their lotus feet. They have the highest standard of devotional service, these gopis. And Radharani is the topmost of all the gopis. And she's being assisted by Rupa Manjari is her assistant. One time Radharani was, of course, Mother Yashoda, she heard about Radharani. And she always wanted to keep Radharani happy because Radharani would come to her house. She's known as Vrindavan, the Queen of Vrindavan. And so she arranged that Radharani would come to the house every day and cook for Krishna. This is given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his book called Chamatkara Chandrika. Chamatkara Chandrika, different astonishing pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So, this book has been translated by Bhanu Swami, disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So, Jatila, the mother-in-law of Radharani, she started noticing that Radharani is exhibiting, she's showing symptoms of love for this cowherd boy Krishna, this woman thief. What's going on? Her daughter, they forbade Radharani from going to the house of Mother Yashoda. After all, if Mother Yashoda would challenge her, why can't Radharani come to my house? Jatila can say, well, a married woman, it's very scandalous for her to go and cook for another man. Don't you think it would look a little strange if my daughter Kutila, who is married to a cowherd man, will go to someone's house every day to cook? It's just scandalous. It will create scandal in the community. So like this, Jatila Radharani from going to cook for Krishna. And Radharani, out of separation, was lying on the ground. She was burning up in the heat of separation from Krishna. So many days had passed, and Radharani could not cook for Krishna. She was burning in separation. And Krishna also was not himself of Radharani, one of his mothers, Rohini. But he wasn't himself. He was besides himself, missing Radharani's association. And so a plot was hatched, a conspiracy, a plot was hatched how to have Krishna and Radharani come together again. So Radharani was lying in her room on the floor, burning in separation. And Vishaka and Lalita and some gopis came and they made her a beautiful bed of lotus flowers smeared with the paste of sandalwood pulp. Very cooling, mixed with camphor. But when Radharani lay on this bed, the entire bed burned into embers. She couldn't even think of it. She was almost unconscious of the separation from Krishna. She's burning up. Her mind was stunned. She was stunned, immobile. She couldn't do anything. And so Dhanishta came from the village of Vrindavan, where Purnamasi lived, where Gargi lives, the daughter of Garga Muni. And Dhanishta was sent by Mother Yashoda. What's going on for Krishna? And bring them back. Packing system. So Dhanishta went to Radharani and said, Radharani, please, your beloved is here. Of course, she wasn't there. And Radharani, as soon as she heard that Krishna was there, she woke up. And Dhanishta said, please cook some nice sweets for Krishna. So Radharani ran to the kitchen and she summoned Rupa Manjari, her assistant, to go and prepare the fire and bring all the ingredients to make some nice sweets for Krishna. So as she was cooking, the heat of the fire was so hot, but it felt cool like the snows of the Himalayan mountains. And this is the magic of prema, Krishna prema, that what is cold becomes warm. What is icy feels warm. And what is hot, like a fire, because Radharani was serving Krishna, was so cooling. She felt like cool breezes and snows of the Himalayas were surrounding her. And she made beautiful sweets for Krishna. And then Dhanishta whispered something in Vishaka's ear. And then Vishaka went to Radharani and whispered in Radharani's ear. And Dhanishta left with the sweetmeats. So Radharani was lying on the ground again. Dhanishta whispered in her ear some message from Krishna. And immediately Vishaka ran out of the room calling Jatila. Jatila, Radharani's lying on the ground. She's been bitten by a serpent with a jewel on its head. And Vishaka was rolling on the ground out of pure anxiety and torment. She was saying, Radharani's been bitten by a serpent. She's going to die. The poison is going to reach her heart and kill her. Immediately, Jatila ran into conscious. What happened? Well, Radharani was in the courtyard and she saw a jewel and she thought she had dropped her jewel, one of her jewels. When she went to pick it up, it was a serpent and it bit her. And now she's going to die. So Jatila was completely lost in panic and turbulence. And she was totally overwhelmed. What should we do? And she called her son, Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu, go to the town and bring a doctor who's expert in the art of neutralizing snake poison, tantras to neutralize snake poison. Then Radharani spoke up. I have taken a vow of chastity. If any man even thinks of me, what to speak of touching me, I'll give up my life. And then one gopi said, well, Krishna, he has defeated Kali, a serpent, in the Yamuna River. And he also killed Aghasura. He seems to know a lot about defeating snakes. Perhaps he should come. Immediately Radharani said, if that thief of men even comes here, the one who has scandalized my name all over Vrindavan by being a debauchee and people ice me into the forest. If he even comes here, even if you say his name again, I will give up my body. So then they decided to go and ask Purnamasi for help. So when they went to Purnamasi, she said, you have to ask Garga Muni, daughter, Gargi. So they went to Gargi, and Gargi said, well, I don't know much about snake charming and neutralizing snake poison, but I have a sister. Her name is Vidyavali, and she happened to be here from Kashi, the city of Kashi, where she's married to a very high class Brahmin. And we can talk to her. So they went to the sister Vidyavali of Gargi, who was actually Krishna in disguise. Disguised as a, and they approached her, and Vidyavali said, oh, I'm not in the habit of doing mode of ignorance, tantras, and mantras for snakes. I am married to a very high-class Brahmin in Kashi and Varanasi. We chant mantras, we perform, involved in these tantra stuff, but I do know some. So then one of the gopis, Vishaka, chastised Vidyavali and said, you don't know these inhabitants of Vrindavan. They're much higher than Brahmins. You've been, Gargi actually chastised her so-called sister and said these. You've been living too long in Varanasi and you're being contaminated by these smart Brahmins and Mayavadi Brahmins who simply chanting mantras trying to get Samipya Mukti, merging into the Brahman of the Lord. These inhabitants of Vrindavan have no idea. Don't offend them. Sorry. Actually, I can chew on this herb, and this herb will relieve Radharani of the poison along with the mantras which are housed in my throat. And then she spoke to Gargi and said, Vidyavali spoke to Gargi and said, these mantras that are housed in my throat, I have to chant them. And at the same time, the herbs that I'm chewing, these herbs have to be transferred into the mouth of the patient. Is that a problem? You have a problem with that? So they approached Jatila and said, Jatila, this doctor here can save Radharani, but along with the mantras, he has to transfer these herbs into her mouth. Is that okay? And Jatila said, I never heard of such a thing, a doctor putting his mouth in the mouth of a patient. But then Vishaka intervened and said, in the case of life and death, any remedy should be taken up. So then they went back to the room where Radharani was. And eventually Krishna, he disguised as Vidyavali, was touching Radharani, and Radharani was overwhelmed with love of God. She was frothing at the mouth. She was moaning in ecstasy from Krishna's touch. And Krishna, in the form of Vidyavali, said, everyone out of the room. I have to summon this serpent. This poison is so strong that Radharani is in a very... So everyone out of the room and I'll summon the serpent. So then Krishna, Vidyavali, summoned the serpent, and everyone outside the room was listening at the door, and Krishna disguised his voice as the serpent, and in the voice of Vidyavali asked the serpent, where have you come from? And the serpent responded, I've come from Mount Kailash. I'm a servant of Lord Shiva. And why did you come here? I have come because Durvas Muni, an expansion of Lord Shiva, was offended by this Jatila. How did she offend him? She was suspicious of Radharani's vow, which was benedicted by Durvasa Muni, that her chastity would be unquestionable, and that whatever she cooked, whoever tasted that foodstuff, that prasad, would live for a long time. And she's forbidding Radharani from cooking for other persons, like Yashoda, come to bite and cause pain to Jatila, who's here. Aniruddha, I also bite him and kill him, and then Jatila will suffer for the rest of her life in the pain of separation from her daughter-in-law and her son. So this was the so-called serpent speaking. And then Jatila from behind the door said, no, please, I will do anything. I will allow Radharani to go. She can go anywhere she wants at any time. I'll never restrict her ever again. And she's rolling on the ground in great panic and trauma. And she's so traumatized. She said, I'm just a crazy old woman. I just suspect everyone of wrongdoings. And my daughter Kotila, she's very cunning. She's always after Radharani, trying to trip her up in so many ways. So I promise you, Radharani can do whatever she wants at any time. And there, then Vidyavali said, okay, then I will. The serpent said, okay, I will go away and never come back unless this promise of Jatila is broken. I will come back and immediately room. And Radharani opened her eyes, cured of this poison. And then the gopi said, well, Vidyavali, it's time for you to go home with Gargi Muni's daughter, and Purnamasi, you can go back. Oh, but it's midnight. It's too late to go back. What should we do? And Vishaka said, yes, and there might be some remnants of poison left in her body. So then Jatila, she voluntarily said, there's a bed on the roof of my house, and the patient, Radharani, can lie there with the doctor tonight, and the doctor can monitor her recuperation for the whole night. This way, Radha and Krishna were given the invitation by Radharani's mother-in-law. This is written by Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur in one of his books. It's called, decided here, Chamatkara Chandrika, a book by Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, The Astonishing Pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So we can stop there. I hope.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Kind of service to the devotees. And I thank you for your kind association.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving your association, actually.
The signal was okay and you could hear me.
Yes,
and
Prabhuji.
We'd like to celebrate Srimati Radharani's appearance tomorrow by cooking for her all wonderful preparations. After all, Radharani is the greatest cook in the world in Krishna's into. Thank you very much. And I'm sure I went over the time period. I'm very sorry. But please come and visit me. Tell me when you're coming to Mayapur and we can associate together. I'm distributing books at the book table there. And you, okay? Hare Krishna.
Yes. We all like to thank you, Prabhuji, for giving us such a nice association, like by giving through his lectures. Like Prabhuji, in a very short period of time, he confirmed that he will be giving his association, and obviously we seek his blessings for getting, like we want more association of Prabhuji in the future. So, and also we would like to thank all the participants.